Greetings, technology enthusiasts. I am Chandrahas and I am delighted to be here with you representing CyberBrainer. Do you not believe that the technology sector is advancing at an unprecedented rate, making this an opportune moment to acquire the skills that will facilitate your progress? With CyberBrainer, we are empowering you to take control of your own future. At CyberBrainer, we do not merely impart your interests. We assert that information is power, yet it is the application of knowledge that distinguishes you. Our courses are meant to equip you with essential skills, whether you are pursuing data science, understanding artificial intelligence, or delving into cybersecurity. Let us commence the session and seize the future today. Thank you.
First of all, I will show you the presentation. What are data change tasks? A data change task is a Prismatics object that defines how to change the data in Prismatics table using data from specific source. You can save data change tasks and run them at any time. We know that data change tasks are specifically used for tables. Create data change task. To out. The transform data from derived data set into a table. It can be used in two ways, either while loading the data into the table or while loading the data from derived data sets to the table. Either we are loading in the table or we are pushing out outside of the table. Example are, you have a base data set with data from custom report and you have a desired data set from the transform in base data set. You can create a data change task that uses data from the data set and load it to the table. Basically, we are loading the data into the table. The data change task can be accessible from the screenshot. You can see data change task. See what are the components involved in it. First of all, the data, since task has been break down into the majorly 4 stages. Source target table, target operation and mapping. Let's see in practical. If we see the source of it, what it shows, let's show us in source we get an option, that object that contains the data that you want to load into the target table, example a custom report or delimited file. That you upload a connection, here we store, choose the source of it. Depending on the source type, you might get additional question for passing the data. First of all, let's create a table. It's kind of an upload. You can take data from the source, from the Prism, and upload in the Workday. Exactly. It works in that way. It takes the data from the update. Let's create a table first. Create a table and the table name is name as d-well worker data. Use existing table or data set. Let's use this one only, the basic one for now. This we can use it, we will give it save. First of all, how we create a table and not. We discussed in the previous session also, we create a table. Yes. When we create a table, we choose the path. We can edit the schema of it. I think we have discussed it earlier but just I will have a refresher of it. When you create a table, when you create a data set, it will ask for a source and it will load the data. When in table, it's completely different. And it will ask for a schema for first. When I give it save, here if I go to view tables, here it's asking for create data change task. Here it's loading the data. Now here you can see no data has been copied. When we create a derived dataset or base dataset, data will be getting loaded immediately. But it doesn't happen. When you saw there was an option to create a data change task, we can create it. We get an option to create data change task from the table itself. If you don't want to create from table, you can go to data catalog. And in data, since task we have to go or create here, create data change task. And now here choose the connections. Our connection was what? Workday report. Here Workday report will enter the Workday report, the same which we entered previously, DV worker. Data target table is which you created. Here you can see automatically all the fields has been mapped. Here the source file is 13 and the target of file is 18. There is a difference of 5 fields over here. But which 5 fields are there? These are the BPA files. This won't match because you also know that this won't match because these are the WPA files. This won't get generated in the data test. Here we do to the mapping. You can see the first step was to identify the source. In the source, we were asked regarding to choose the source between the variety of it. If I go back, I will show you. If I go to change connection, you can see file upload for the report, data catalog SFTP. Amazon S3, Salesforce and Snowflakes are the new additions. Amazon S3 and Salesforce were there. Sorry, this was there. These two are new additions. Basically, it's nothing. It's just in connection. It's just providing a new capability to connect directly from other system. What happens is, let's say I have to connect my system from any other Workday with another system I can directly connect. Snowflake is a data warehouse tool. Majorly it is used for HCM and payroll data. Snowflake store data. And Salesforce is used for CRM data. In that all the customer lead, who are the good customer? It's a basically CRM customer relationship manager or something that. The full form is that way. It's managed, it manages the customer and their sales, how the sales goes. Amazon S3 is something different. Basically, things all the system over here we can see. Choose any of them. If we see the presentation here, what we did is we identified the source. And the target table, the table with the data you want to change using the source data, which though we will use the source and according to the source which data it showed. Target 2. You can either create a table when you create a data since task just create table. For data sources schema button. Basically, we're creating a table and then we are creating a data change task. then get what target, create table from source schema, and that's how the table is already filled with the data. Yes, in that table will be there, but it will only copy the schema. Let's say if I show you here, when we create a table, it will create only the schema and it won't load the data into it. But for loading the data, we need to create a data change task. We use the reference of the derived data set as in to load the schemas into it. We can also load the data as let me. I don't know why it's taking time. Thank you. Yes, here you can see when you create a table, you can see there's no data reflected. Yes, if I go to tables here, there is no data reflected. When we created the source, what we did is we created a schema. Schema as in that there should be a field with the name of employee and it should be text field. There should be a field with worker and its field type should be instance. Legal name should be there, which is text. And there should be dependence as which is a multi-instance. Basically, here we are defining the schema of the table when we choose the source of it. But when you want to load the data, we need to do the created data change task. When you create a table, we will choose the schema first. And when we choose a schema, then for the rest of the load, we will do the create data change task. Let's say here we choose the source. We identified that going forward in this particular schema, this particular data should be loaded. It's data that DB worker data. Then we give next table, we give next and mapping 13 out of 13 fields are mapped. Here 13 are there and here are also 13 are there. Here it is not necessary that we match all of them. Let's say if I do this, don't want to match any of them, I can remove it as it's not necessary. It depends on my requirement. Here also and here rename it. Here what rename is, here mention that. Here mention data, chains are insert or load. Data load. Here we are not mentioning any tags or something. We can name a tag and description as if there's any particular description to it and give a plan. Then after the mapping, we will get a review. In review, we can decide that we have to see what kind of operations we want to do. We have to review that. What is the name of it? API name, source and mapping, and then we can finish. Here we will give two options, save and run now or save. If we give save and run now, it will save and run the integration. That will load the data into the table. Here you can see that it's retrieving the data from the source of the table and will get the data. If you go here, the data is 0. If you see after some time, I will get loaded. When we go to data change activities, here we can see all the data since activities which are taking place. There are recurring data change activities. As those recurrings, we can see that whether the data change task has been done or not. Sometimes the data change task field, we have to manually run them. How many run them? Need to go to the data. Data Sense task. Let's hit this. Let's hit this. I will show you. This is running. I can go on it and give a run on it. This is activity. You can go to Data Sense task from here. Descending. Let's say I want to run this, I can give run now. When I get run now, at that time this table will get loaded with the DV worker data, the source and the target table you can see over. Here that some people have used the file as a source and target as this table, I use a derived. Dataset. This symbol is for desired dataset or base dataset, any of them that you see. This we can do it. Let's see if that process has been completed. Whitefield. That's interesting. What is it? Prism activates monitor. Thank you. Thank you. There's no message but only showing execute data change. Task load failed. Let me show that. There is no specific reason. Pause our runtime expression for calling data API on an expected response. Let me see the report. The report might also be old. Let me check the report. You can create a copy of it that it has the, because it is a temporary report. Let me see. That might also give this error. It's not able to recall that particular data which is causing this issue. This is a temporary port automatically delete after 10 return DL. And it's actually data for deleting is this one. Let me create a copy of it and then drag in. Copy. Advanced option. It's enabled for everything. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think it should work. It's taking more time than usual. This also failed. Return data from source plus view. There's some activities. Thank you. I think there's some technical issue because it's not able to call the report. Let me try with something else. If it's the same for that one, Prism is not very stable. Maybe that's why. Exactly. Prism is not stable for this. Sign it up and upload. First load will always be an insert. It will insert first and then when we create it. We'll get the top 10. Let's see, here we can see the fields. There's no data, but it will soon load the. I believe for this small amount of data, it shouldn't be taking this much time because we only created an Excel issue. If we show you here, it's only 3 rows and I don't know why it's taking this much time for small data. Load complete. And prose was added. This is correct. We get that all. It was correct for this one. Here we got all this data. And now let's create a data sense task. Select a file. Here what we can do is we can open this file and we can mention Teresa 2 times. With some minor detail modification, Teresa here is 4. And the rest we can keep as it is. This is weekend 2020. Yes, it doesn't look a duplicate now, the 2T20. Yes, exactly. We are just keeping it unique. Yes, letting it. Upload. I don't know why this is having some issue. This is not stable, it seems. I'm not able to. Last time also you're not able to upload a file over here. See, error is completely unknown. And he said this is a txt file. You actually see it, but it says it doesn't gonna upload it, just that. Basically it supports all the file. If I select on it, it will see all the custom files. All files you can see. There's no any limitation to it, that I can't upload a CSV file. But txt, if it's there, it should work. It will automatically understand the format. Because you remember, here also we created table. If I show you the table, this table we also created by uploading the text file, only the file data. When we created this table, when we loaded this data over here with this 3 rows, we uploaded with that text file only. It seems that there are some restrictions for data tense task. Just not getting it picked for this one. I have this in this file. Format also, this is which format. Let me see if the part works. No, it's not taking any of the file formats. Let me try saving into the file saver. Now we are in CSV. This is an icon for CSV file. We can go for data. It's not picking up any of them. If you open this is a CSV file. Exactly. I think there's some restriction from the PISM and we are not able to perform this particular task. I will check with the technical team with this, because this is something on a tenant end, or maybe they have added some restrictions. Meanwhile, I will just give an overview till then, theoretically, which we can discuss it. When we create an operation, it will first of all insert will happen because already we know that the data there is no any data available. It won't do any delete, truncate and insert, update, upset. It has to insert the data only here on these and in the third row. But for the remaining data change task, let's say there's already a data available in that table. It will ask us for the remaining ones. Delete. It won't ask for delete as in delete, but truncate, insert, update and upsert. Then there's a mapping. Mapping, we saw, we map the fields for both the source and target. Let's say there are 15 fields in the source and there are 13 rows in the target table. Then we have to map it accordingly that we want to use which fields according to the requirement. Here's the data change activity. Data, what is data change activity? When you run a data change activity, it generates a data change activity log. Here when we see the log, we can see what are the activities happened. If I run this particular table, I ran it twice. 2 records will show and also show how many records got published into it. Here 2 rows got published. Here also 2, here 15 rows got published. This is loaded by someone else. There's existing data available, it's loading by that only. I can see here, many of the files has been filled. Here edit, it shows me the log basically, if in case I want to check it. I will check over here, it happens when I run the integration. Here's a quick tip when we have a dependency from the other system. Let's say created the data, set a lineage. I'm storing a data somewhere. What I will do is I will create a data since that once the all my lineage work has been completed, it should store into the table. To store into the table, I will use the data change task. That is the last step I will use, or in the beginning as any of them. During that, sometimes what happens is that, let's say I give truncate and insert once. Remove the data completely and load with the new data. What happens is sometimes in the integration, there was no file detected. During this, there is no data available and will truncate. Insert, it will truncate first of all, but while inserting there won't be data and the data set, data change task will fail because it did a task for truncating but inserting. It doesn't have data, it will don't show the data and will ask us as blank. All. How I will know that is it loaded with the correct data or not? I can see it from the rows. Yes, data change task is very helpful in getting this information, this insights over here. Regarding the connection is basically the connection which you established from the different one system. This is SAP to Workday load which I created earlier. Basically, what to create a connection? You can go to create and connection. Connection is creating a connection. I will show you. I will give edit. When I create a data change task over here, it will ask me for the SFTP details. When I want to do a SFTP connection, it won't ask me the details again. When I go to edit Prism SFTP connection, here it will ask me, hello, you there? Yes, I'm here. Here it will. I have set up a SFTP connection. I have named it SAP to Workday load. It is getting data from SAP and loading into the Workday. Here I will mention the file name. Every time when I will do it, it will look for this particular file name. I can also name it dynamic. Let's say I want to name it dynamic. Let's say or data. And the date and there's a date and that date changes every time depending on the day. Let's say if the file has been loaded today, it will be 11/11. If it's tomorrow, it will be 12/11 that. Again, mention those dynamic things into the star. In that case, it will exit. It won't consider those particular data while searching it. It will only stick how it will do it. I will do this. I will mention star. I'll mention 0. This, what it will do is it won't search for this exact thing. It will escape. This is a escape, correct. What it will look is for the arg data only. Once it looks for the arg data, says V. I have mentioned the format as in some cases, it will be peep as ygeep. When someone loads the data into any CEFTP, then they do encryption of it. The file is in the CSV format, but where encryption, the file is not in a readable format and has a key by which it got encrypted. That we will show that person who is loading the data is loading the data in a encrypted way, and we have to decrypt it later on while uploading the file. When it stores into CEFP, it's into the encrypted format. Only what's the reason when someone sends the data to CEFP and when someone retires the data from CEP during this ingestion, when we are inserting the data and pulling the data there. Chances that our data might got leaked. In that case, to avoid it, we use a PGP key for the encryption, who looks after the encryption. The person who is providing us the file looks after the encryption of it. I will discuss. It basically means that somebody is sharing that file with us using SAP. Yes, SAP, they will share the file, but they will not directly share SEP. As SAP to Workday, they will create an SEF folder. SEF folder is secure file. Transfer protocol, which is a cloud folder. It's a cloud folder over there. They will keep a file. Let's say if I keep a file in downloads, if I go to downloads and downloads, I have kept this file. If I see the address, I kept my file over here. If I say mercy and go and file this file worker data in the downloads, you will be able to relocate because this is shared with you. This is a cloud folder. It is shared with you. Similarly, there is a cloud folder which is known as SFPP that I can't directly go with the link. It will ask me for a credential. Let's say if I go that machine, go to this PC and go to download. But this is the address, this PC and download. When you click on it, it will ask for your credentials, username and password. That is the secure. That is what secure file transfer protocol means. That is secured by username and password. Once you enter the password, you will be able to access the files. STPs are generally SFTP file Walmart ka. This is just an example for Walmart. But when we see the normal website will be HTTP. Here, if I show you, see here HTTP colon does / is there. This is a website. This is a website. It's a website where you log into things and do all the things. But CEFP is not a website. CEFP is a folder, Cloudways folder which you're accessing it. This is the address of CEF address, and here's a directory. Directory as in dig into it to a particular folder. Let's say if I show you here, this PC, assume that this PC is a website, and as I dig in, let's say I go to local, let's say, go to C drive, I go to program files, I go to Java. This is my directory. It's C program files, Java. Directory as in the address of it basically. If I want to file the file JDK11, I have to go to C program files and then Java in order to access this JDK11 file. Here what I will do is I will mention the address that once you reach this website, go to the data, there will be data folder. In data folder, go to the port folder and report folder. You will be able to find this or data.csv. It's all part of the folder with the file. Yes, it's a path. It's a path to find the folder. Then use a temp file. There's that. Here it's gonna allow the file to be overridden only when it's finished. Here, what happens is avoid the external system from attempting to read the file before it has been fully uploaded. It uses a temp file. It creates a temporary file. It avoids external system from attempting to read file before it has been fully uploaded. Let's say 2 people are pulling this file. When you are doing it, it avoids it basically. It allows the file to be overwritten only when it finishes the uploading to external site. It's overwritten, or it will create a copy of it. And when someone else is pulling, it won't show it at that time. It basically means that one operation at a time. It's an optional thing. It's not necessary. And here mention username and password. Username and password will use the one which has been provided with a client. Generally, user and password are subjective. It's not necessary that it will be. Let's say if it's shared with a team. There are 2 scenarios. One that you will have your individual user and password. The second one you will be assigned with. You will be assigned with the for the team and one for the individual ones. Individual as in you will have your personal ones. And in some cases it will have same for the whole team. Generally, I have seen that in the team people share the credential because creating each and everyone's profile is tricky to do it and it's very costly for the same. Also, and not all the people use this FTP folder every time. By username and password. Password, it will have to access the CFP. Based upon the access, you will be able to see the files. Then there's an SES login. If I click on it, here also user aid is there and there's a key pair. Basically, it's also a key by which you will be able to log in. It's a login method basically. Generally, username and password is widely used. Here username is there in to enter a password. And we have to verify the password. Once we've done it, it will save. Then file utility. Delete after retrieval. Here, what we need to do is after we get the file, what should happen? It should delete the file after retrieval. Decompress it or decrypt. As I mentioned you, in the earlier session we discussed that when we upload a file from any further derived data set or base data set, basically automatically, Workday will decompress the file. Now when we create a decompress, when you create a deco, I know that I have entered into ZIP file. I entered decompress, it will not process the file directly, but it decompress it first. Once it decompress it, it will then ask for whether it should be decrypted or not. As I mentioned here, the file is in CSV. We may not require to decrypt this because here it's in the CSV format. But let's say it is a PGP encrypted format. We need to decrypt it into the particular one. Here they provide is with the key pair. If I open the key, for understanding, let me see. If it's visible, it has a validity that it should be varied from this date to this date. This is the encryption key when they provide us with the PB key. We need to create a PP that this is a begin P key at the end. This is basically into the a coded format which is not understandable by us, but it shows how the data is being encrypted and how it can be decrypted. Let's say if you might be aware of that. If I type Zalim1, then in some cases it's as decrypted as a if it's a 0, 0 if it's 0, 1 0. It should be is B, this is what this is encryption of A and this is encryption of A. Decryption of A, first of all, What we are doing is we are telling that a computer that if a comes, you should name it as Zalarun1. This we did. Encryption away, and now when you want to decrypt it when the 1001, we will do 1002. This is just a very basic example. The encryption is very complex and we won't be able to read it, because if you will be able to read it, there won't make any sense that to encrypt it, because it's not in a readable format. It's meant to be spread. Yes, it's meant to be not in to be readable in that way. Exactly, only the system will be able to understand it and will be able to decrypt it. This key is being provided by the provider because they have encrypted it from their end only. They provide us with a key. That which key they need to do, we need to create that encryption. And we need to pull it over here because only the person who is a data administrator will do this configuration. Why? Because this key is very crucial. They can't share it with everyone. What they do is they share with the functional team or the person who is look after the data administrator, who governs the data into the Workday. They generally create this key and tell them that use this key for the future reference. That then there's a force integrity. Check that if there's a data is or not. That digital signature where they're using, if it's from, it will verify that whether it is from any valid source or not. The PGB certificate is valid source or there's a sign, which let's say there's a stamp in the end of it for a particular. It will validate or not. These are not mandatory ones, but these are the utility ones. And there's an restriction as an environment restriction, that this particular connection will work in your particular environment. It should work in prod and should work in sandbox and test. Let's say if I'm testing any file and I'm receiving any file from sandbox for testing, but let's say I have completed my working, I'm migrated to prod. Here for production, there might be some different address SFTP. I can mention that this FTP connection should only work for the sandbox and implementation. Once I migrated to another tenant, let's say migrated to prod, during that scenario, it shouldn't work because this FTP folder, it's assumed that it's only for the test file only, but for the production file, which are the production file, they have a separate directory to it. It's a report, this might be test, and for the reproduction it might be prod. It depends on the scenario that what you're looking for. If you are considering configuration in production, it will production. What does this mean? That it should only work in this particular environment only. If it's apart from this environment, let's say if it's production, it won't work. If it's testing, it won't work. In which strength it should work, it will mention, and then we will create. When we create it, we'll then use this connection to do the working. To pull the file. Any questions for this one? No, I think not. Let me check here. I was just wondering, maybe it's a question that only a little bit touches on the topic, but when you look at this exactly, Amazon S3, for example, I understand that the Workday is a system that manages the data for HR. It's going to be employee data. What kind of information does the Workday might want to take from Salesforce, for example? In Salesforce, what happens is generally Salesforce data has been integrated, the finance data. Salesforce is a CRM, I am not able to recall the exact name of CRM will form. Basically, CRM deals with the sales data. Customer is main. Yes, the performance customer relationship management. What happens is generally the sales data, the sales people or finance people generally connects data with Salesforce. It has all the leads. It is help for lead generation. Let's say if I have generated a lead, let's say I work for a transport company and I have got a contract to transport my goods from Europe to US. There's a customer ABC. He's customer for me. I will enter the customer. It's a lead for me unless the business is finalized. It's a lead. Lead as in potential client. That customer ABC is a potential client. I will enter the detail into to the CRUM. In that I can manage all my customers at one time at one place. Once that customer is fine, I can negotiate over that again, give the quotation on it and do all the working that it will cost you around $1 lakh or 1 million for transporting this particular shipment to one place to another. Once that done, the deal is closed, then I will mention that I closed this deal with how much money. Now integrate this particular thing with my finance data that I sold this service or this good, this particular company or particular client. How much revenue got generated from it, and I will match it with the finance data that whether it is matching or not with all accounts and all. This both are different things, it's not the same. Customer Relationship Manager management is a tool which manages the customer data and its transaction related to it. And by Workday Finances, it will have the finance data. As we know that Prism has the main function of Prism is too much different sums together. Here we are merging Salesforce data with the finance data. Exactly makes sense now, and it can be also used in another way, as let's say if I want to do the evaluation of the sales team, that I want to give the bonus to the workers at the end of the year through the sales team. What I will do is I will pull the data from Workday for all the workers who are into the sales team. I got the worker data from the sales team, and I will pull the data from CRUM, that which worker attracted the maximum plant, or let's say which worker generated the maximum revenue. Let's say there's a in sales teams as a person who has helped in getting the client, who has helped the company getting the profit of, let's say, 10 million, 20 million, that they can reward it with something. Yes, they don't have to do the manually, because definitely the Mink has very huge sales team. They might have 1,000, 2,000 people working into it. It's manually, it's hard to review. They then integrate this whole thing into one. That, and then they can do the mapping. Let's say previously you created that cal field for the understanding of how we can mention. We can do the mapping, the 3, 2, 1. For the total base pay, we created the cal field last week. We can create something similar, but based upon the as a make Mazink. We have a metric of sales data that they did the maximum, and previously in that the call field which we created used the performance data as the benefit data to evaluate that how much increment they should get. That's for increment. Here we are talking about the bonus. We can use that sales data, use it as a test metric, and we can evaluate that this person should have 10% bonus of their 20% of their base pay. How much? It's a one-time bonus. Here also, if I go to SFTP in the data, as in starts, I can go to SFTP. It won't work for now, but I'll just show you. Change connection. See, here you can see we are getting our data. Here it is asking that changes correction are different might invalid. It's asking that previously selected report and now you're using this FTP. It might be different. You want to go ahead and discard the existing configuration. I can confirm. But I know that in SFTP I haven't entered any. I've entered dummy data. It won't work. I will give cancel. But I can use this connection to connect with FTP as any questions regarding this? No, I want to go through the mapping process later, but maybe not today. It is going to be working next time then. This is interesting because mapping, what is that? I can only map a text with text. It's not comparing with the name. I would just reiterate it again. That's good that you brought it up. In mapping, it will only match with the field types, not with the name. Let's say, if you click over here, you can see all the text files. I can also map legal first name with the employee ID because see here, Workday doesn't understand that legal first name is not an employee ID. Obviously, it's not a match, but it matches depending on the name. First, it will see if the name are identical, it will map it. Otherwise, it will see the text files. You can see this is a text field. I am getting text option. But on the other hand, if I click on worker, it will only give me single instance. Here only one. Single instance is there for hide it. I'll only get hide it. How many are there? Only one date. If field is there, it is only given one for age, also numeric 1. I will get only one. This is how it works. It matches day based upon the field type and not the names. It will automatically identify, not an issue. I can rematch it. I can clear all. See, I can do a clear all. Here you can see 0 out of 13 are matched. I can rematch it. When I do a rematch, Workday will automatically match all the things. Which are the possible solutions? It has seen that in target table age is there. And there is something related to age over here as it will map it. When it says that you have 13 on 13, it doesn't mean that you have a file and there was 13 rows in that file or column. And when you mapping, you don't have to choose them all because you can choose that you only want an 8 or 5. Is that correct? Basically, it maps according to target table. Let's say in target, there are 10 fields. And here in source, let's say it's 13. It will only show here map 10 out of 10 only. Not more than that. See, let's say if I do a clear. See, if I do clear, you can see this is 0 and this is 13. Here the rest 13. It is counting, but here I can see 18. Why? Because these are OPA files. These are of offer. No use, it won't count as in the mapping. That's why it is giving me 13 zo is this zo. Files and 13 as in this 13. Let's say the source is 13 and let's say it exceeded to. Let's say 15, but here we will only match up to 13. Let's say if it's here, it is in source we have, let's say 20 also. Let's say in this source we have 20, but still it will only let us map 13 only. Because in target we using 13 fields. What decides the target? Is it always the constant that there is target 18 fields or not? Sorry, I didn't go to repeat. The target 18 fields, is it a constant or does it change based on size? Something because I see view by all targets fields 18 when you click on that option. View by where? There exactly where there all targets fields 18 view by. Yes, by it's a view by as in unmapped I will be. Let's say In some cases, there are 20-30 fields, it's hard to scroll them. It's view by, as in, it's filtering out there. Let's say I mapped. Let's say I mapped employee over here. And now I want to see how many is pending. What I want is I click on this and I will see unmapped. It will help me filter it out, the data that these are the unmapped files. But I will now I want to see the mapped files. I will be able to see mapped files now here. Another thing is, let's say, want to see how many fields are instance where you click on it and I found that worker gender. These are the instance file. It's easy for me to map this thing. I will be able to map this genders. Yes, now I complete with this one. Now I will do with the only date. I have 3 but only one is valid for this is the Wupal load. Stamps, these are not eligible for mapping. That's why it is coming 13, 18 are there and remaining 5 are UP loads. That's why it's not coming. I can map it. Basically, UBI is basically filtering out the data how I want to see this, but I have to map this all of them. Let's say it won't complete the complete mapping. Here is saying that mapping map field 6, unmapped field 7 here. That is the thing we need to map things correctly over here. I can reset the matches, it automatically do the remap. I hope you got this mapping part here. I can also see the by this column as, let's see if this is confusing. I can see by scrolling over here that this is a target fields and these are the source. This is a sample data which I can see over here. Currently the sample data is not visible because we haven't loaded the data into this one. That's why we are not able to see it. Otherwise be able to see it here because the source data is not visible and that there is no data in the table as if we do for the for it file. It won't work. That is the thing. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.